here is Elizabeth Warren taking the biggest piece out of Michael Bloomberg. And she was well situated to do this. And frankly, this is what she should have done with Biden, I think, in the first two things. And I know all the theories that, well, Kamala Harris did not, Kamala Harris did not survive. Because it wasn't because she attacked Biden. It was because she didn't have any substance beyond that one comment. It was she should have come out after that with a plan to, desegregate our schools across the country. She should have had a second act to that, and she didn't, and that was the problem.
Bernie attacked Biden on Social Security, and that worked well up for him.
Indeed, because Bernie had a foundation about supporting the expansion of Social Security. And Warren came out of this attack on Bloomberg quite well, because it was not for a moment was there anybody who doubted where she was coming from or her bona fides to talk this way.
I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg. Democrats are not going to win if we have a nominee who has a history of hiding his tax returns, of harassing women, and of supporting racist policies like redlining and stop and frisk. Look, I'll support whoever the Democratic nominee is, but understand this. Democrats take a huge risk if we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for another. This country has worked for the rich for a long time and left everyone else in the dirt. It is time to have a president who will be on the side of working families and be willing to get out there and fight for them. That is why I am in this race, and that is how I will beat Donald Trump.
Bloomberg looks like he literally just ate a shirt. And it decimated his candidacy.
He's not used to people being allowed to talk to him like that.
I don't like, not only that, like, I don't even think I don't think that this guy has had a situation where anyone who wasn't doing something illicit, right? Like, I'm sure he's dealt with protesters or stuff like that, but that to him is like, oh, who let this fly in the house type of situation. When you got $65 billion, I don't think you come in contact with people who don't just tell you everything that you want to know.
Did you remember one other thing that stuck out for me from the debates is the way Bloomberg said a couple times, "Let me finish," in a very not used to be talked over kind of method?
Yeah, listen to this.
I think at that time I wrote an article praising Obamacare. It was either in the New York Post or the Daily News. So the facts are I was there. Let me finish. Thank you. I was in favor of it. I thought it didn't go as far as we should.
Now, Joe Biden 15, 20 years ago would go like, I'll let you finish, but it doesn't make what you're saying any more true. Something like that. Instead, Biden just sits there and takes it. Warren at 1.2 destroyed him on the NDAs, on the non-disclosure forms. That is, and that is where her legal background really kicked in, because she understands this dynamic probably more than Bloomberg does. Bloomberg's just trying to BS it. Here is Elizabeth Warren really destroying Bloomberg on the issue of the non-disclosure forms. And Bloomberg said, subsequent to this, after about a week or two, they had to let them, rescind. Now, the process is such that clearly what they did to set up was contact the company, put in a request to be released. Then we will absorb that request, and then we will release you if you go further. I can tell you what's happening right now in that process. How much money more do you want? Do you want 1 million? Do you want 2 million? How many grains of rice am I going to have to give you from my massive pile of rice? Do you want 4? Do you want 6? 6 pieces of rice? Because guess what?
Getting's good now.
The amount of money that he's going to have to spend to keep those women from talking is literally the functional equivalent of me having to get a new printer. And I'm not talking the ink that comes with it. I'm just saying the printer, because that's the way they get you. The printer costs like $45, and then the ink costs like $75.
I feel like we're always underestimating too when we make these analogies.
I
It's
think you're right.
probably more like buying a pack of Twinkies.
I think you're probably right about that. Here is Warren going in on Bloomberg on the NDAs.
Senator Warren, you've been critical of Mayor Bloomberg on this issue.
Yes, I have, and I hope you heard what his defense was. I've been nice to some women.
Look at this eye roll. Oh my God.
It just doesn't
Such a baby.
The mayor has to stand on his record, and what we need to know is exactly what's lurking out there. He has gotten some number of women, dozens, who knows, to sign non-disclosure agreements, both for sexual harassment and for gender discrimination in the workplace. So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is
Let me
that?
finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. And let me point. There's agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them. They signed those agreements, and we'll live with it.
So wait, when you say this, I just want to be clear. Some is how many? And when you say they signed them and they wanted them, if they wish now to speak out and tell their side of the story about what it is they allege, that's now okay with you? You're releasing them on television tonight?
Senator, no.
Is that right?
Senator,
Tonight?
Senator, the company and somebody else, in this case, a man or a woman, or could be more than that, they decided when they made an agreement that they wanted to keep it quiet for everybody's interest. They signed the agreements, and that's what we're going to do.
Come on, man.
I'm sorry. No, the question is, are the
heard your
women
question.
bound by being muzzled by you? And you could release them from that immediately, because understand, this is not just a question of the mayor's character. This is also a question about electability. We are not going to beat Donald Trump with a man who has who knows how many non-disclosure agreements and the drip, drip, drip of stories of women saying they have been harassed and discriminated against. That's not what we do as Democrats.
I honestly, like, that's like almost like museum grade. And like throughout that, like what she did, like, at one point he goes like, I heard the question. She could have stopped and been like, oh, you did? Like, she did not. She went like a laser and just cut through this guy like butter. And she did it. She threw away the part on some level of like, this is not just about, the moral question. Like so much is left unsaid when you say that. That the audience, in this case, you start going down the road of what's behind that, the morality question. And she is already on to the practicality question of like, here's the thing, you guys go work out the morality. I'm not going to walk you through this. Here's 2 + 2. You guys figure out what 4 is. But I'm also going to remind you that in terms of just a practical question, this guy may have billions of dollars to run, but it's not going to make a difference if you're just putting up one serial harasser against another.
The point is to beat Trump. It's not Michael Bloomberg.
And like
Exactly.
Democrats actually care about that stuff, at least some. So, Trump's base doesn't care, but the people you're trying to turn out to vote against Trump,
Indeed.
at least some of them care.
Definitely everybody who considers himself in any degree a Democrat wants to beat Trump. So like Bloomberg can't beat Trump either. So it's a wise thing to bring up.
The whole thing was just well done.